Hello and thank you for watching another edition of ARFCOM News. This week I want to tell you about how the feds are trying to arrest a man just for some little red coat hangers made of plastic, a court challenge that could end the ban on carrying a gun for the plebes in New York City, and a rundown of how the SAF, FPC, GOA, and NRA spend the money you donate. But first, I want to tell you about the wholesome, non-GMO, sustainably sourced, gluten-free, zero-trans fat, low-carb night vision products offered to you by our friends at TNVC.com, just like Mom used to make. If you like seeing stuff more than not seeing stuff, take a look at our sponsor, TNVC.com, your source for quality night vision gear to make you the bump in the night. Before we get started, check this out. No, it's not the Flanel Daddy origin story, it's just a kid shooting and chatting about guns. Wholesome in effect. Remember when YouTube was this good? Eli Valentine is what YouTube is supposed to be. Check out his channel and help make YouTube great again. Keep up the solid work, kid. I can't wait to see your next video. Okay, so first up is some more righteous 2A activism from the Second Amendment Foundation and the Firearms Policy Coalition. Last week, we told you about a similar lawsuit that SAF and FPC filed against New Jersey, and now I have the pleasure of telling you they have filed a suit against the City of New York and Police Commissioner Dermot Shea because the city requires people to articulate a proper cause to get a permit to carry a gun. As you're likely aware, the city almost never finds the lives of ordinary citizens amount to proper cause, but the wealthy and connected have little trouble articulating how their special lives are more worthy of defense. The executive vice president of SAF, Alan Gottlieb, said, "The right to bear arms must be available to all citizens in New York, not just wealthy people and celebrities." And FPC president Brandon Combs said, "People in New York have a right to carry a loaded handgun in public for self-defense, and contrary to what Governor Cuomo and Mayor de Blasio think, the Constitution fully applies in the city and state of New York." The Supreme Court in Heller was clear that to bear arms means to carry them on the person in case of confrontation. Anything that denies a law-abiding citizen the ability to exercise that right is unconstitutional. Period.
This is the way.
Requiring a justification to exercise a fundamental human right is immoral and unconstitutional. No one would tolerate this sort of thing for any other constitutional right. Rosa Parks didn't need any reason to sit at the front of the bus other than she was tired, and I don't need any reason to stay strapped other than I don't want to get clapped. Can you imagine if you had to explain why you needed to read a newspaper before buying one? So toss a few quatloos at FPC and SAF if you haven't already, or hell, if you have. Consider this your somewhat weekly reminder that these guys are out there fighting the good fight on your behalf. Please go to saf.org or firearmspolicy.org and give generously. But if you give to these folks, how are they going to spend it? I went looking for IRS Form 990s for a few of the bigger gun rights advocacy groups, and here is what I found from the most recent forms I was able to locate for each group. Let's start with the Second Amendment Foundation. In my opinion, they are the most transparent of the groups that I looked at, since I was able to find their 2019 Form 990 easily on their own website. I had to go to third parties to get the forms for the others. All the links will be listed down there in the doobly-doo, of course. The total revenue for SAF in 2019 was $4,487,488. The SAF spent only $68,000 for salaries across all senior leadership, and the director himself, Alan Gottlieb, got less than $50,000. They spent $208,503 for salaries for everyone else, and they spent $237,830 for advertising. Total expenses were $4,206,290. They spent $2,946,804 for total program service expenses. That's Fed bean counter talk for money that's actually spent on their defined mission. So, the bottom line is SAF spent about 66% of its total revenue on its defined mission.
66%, eh?
Now strap in, we'll do the rest. Next up is the Firearm Policy Coalition. Their total revenue for 2017 was $1,112,364. President Brandon Combs got $135,689, and the FPC spent $362,340 for salaries for all the other people. Their advertising expenses were $50,657. Total expenses were $1,157,217. The FPC's total program service expenses were $998,234. Bottom line, the FPC spent about 90% of its total revenue on its defined mission. The Gun Owners of America brought in a total revenue in 2018 of $4,802,572. The highest paid executive at GOA, Tim Macy, earned $126,000. The total salaries for all senior leadership was $382,609. The salaries for everyone else added up to $243,250. Their advertising expenses were $117,726, and the total expenses were $3,013,226. The GOA's total program service expenses were $1,894,497. Bottom line, the GOA spent about 40% of its total revenue on its defined mission. And finally, the 800-pound gorilla, the NRA, pulled in a total revenue for 2018 of $352,550,864. LaPierre got $2.2 million, Chris Cax and Ollie North each got about $1.4 million, and Wilson Phillips just missed a cool $1 million. 9 other people got over $500,000 each. All told, senior leadership cost the NRA $7,673,480. They also gave Ted Nugent $64,230 for being awesome. The salaries and wages for all the little people who work for the NRA adds up to about $40 million. Their advertising expenses were $50,197,599. Total expenses were $329,831,651. The NRA's total program service expenses were $250,904,765. Bottom line, the NRA spent about 71% of its total revenue on its defined mission. Now, I'm just one guy, and I can barely count to 10 with my boots on, so please check the links in the description and let me know if I made any mistakes. It's also worth noting you might think lobbying should take priority, while I think litigation should be the focus. So if anyone has more granular information about how these organizations spend their money, or your money, I'm interested to hear it. I am just basing the percentages above on their declared total program expenses divided by total revenue, and that isn't necessarily the best way to gauge their impact either, so tell me all about how I got it wrong down there. If you want a perfect example of government overreach, just take a look at this case where the FBI is trying to arrest a guy just for making plastic hooks for you to hang things with. Timothy Watson runs a website that sells reasonably priced little plastic hooks for hanging masks or coats or whatnot. And apparently the feds think he should get locked in a cage just because he sold about 600 of these portable wall hangers to some scary militia types. Next thing you know, they're going to start arresting people just for having a handy pen holder like this. Now, if you're feeling like you're missing out on the joke, both of these products could probably function as a drop-in autos here in Minecraft, hypothetically. I don't have any dogs, so please, no step. In all seriousness, I would never have the stones to order something like this myself. I just assume this sort of thing is an ATF honeypot. Whether or not that's actually the case, it just ain't worth the risk. And apparently the Fed NPCs don't think it's all that funny, so even if sites like this or the Wish.com solvent traps aren't actually stings, it's probably only a matter of time before the feds serve a warrant and seize the shipping records. Not that it makes any difference. You can see how simple these designs are. They're easy enough for anyone to make without special tools or knowledge or skills. All you really need is the inclination to make fast pews and enough spare time you don't mind a long stay in Club Fed. Obviously, the YouTube censors won't allow me to speak the forbidden knowledge of how you would go about doing it, but you can't stop the signal, so it's out there, you know. There's even a 3D printer file out there for one, which we won't mention because wrong think. As they say, it ain't over until it's over.
I ain't heard no fat lady.
But Joe Biden is the presumptive winner of this thing we just did, which might loosely be referred to as an election. Yes, courts and stuff, and yeah, man, I really hope President Trump's lawyers can prove he actually won.
If you believe, wherever you are, clap your hands and she'll hear you.
But I also don't want to explain this every time Biden says something stupid about guns between now and January 20th. So, until that situation changes, we're going to proceed as though Uncle Naughty Hands is the guy who will be sworn in so I can bring you the news. Now, with that out of the way, let me tell you why Biden sucks as a salesman. Let's say it looks like he just won an election. Well, then he gets all excited. He's like JoJo, the idiot circus boy with a pretty new pet. His transition team website says he intends to stop the transfer of weapons of war to police forces. Now, I gotta say, this is one thing that I agree with, at least on the surface. Far too long have police departments been able to procure surplus machine guns and MRAPs at far lower prices than I can manage. I think it's unfair they get a sweet deal on armored vehicles and weapons from the taxpayer while I have to pay full price. For that matter, I don't trust the state with any weapons they don't trust me with. Don't get me wrong, I believe police should be able to procure the tools they need to do their job effectively. I just don't think they should have access to anything I don't. What does stranger danger mean by this statement, though? I mean, your guess is as good as mine. It's not like he elaborates at all, but I think he intends to stop the sale of surplus equipment to police agencies through DRMO. Yes, he is using the same catchphrase authoritarian enthusiasts like to use for sport utility rifles, but it's not like he would have the power to stop agencies from buying ARs. No, I think he just wants to make it harder for cops to buy military surplus. But for the life of me, I can't figure out why he would want to do that. Don't get me wrong, I've heard the arguments about the militarization of police and how the cool toys seem to cause mission creep. And sure, maybe there is something to that argument. But what I mean is, the bad touch doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who believes that people should have force parity with the state. What do you think? Should we allow the government to have any weapons they don't trust us with? Maybe we should have them fill out a background check. Who knows? They might have killed people, you know? Joe, your hair smells nice Biden is probably going to attempt to pack the Supreme Court with additional justices. But in all honesty, I don't think he'll be any more successful at it than Franklin Delano Roosevelt was. And just because a confused and senile, dirty old man is going to have a go at packing the Supreme Court doesn't mean it's all hell on earth out there. Even if he did manage to install some more friendly judges, there's no way he can get that done before the current SCOTUS hears some really big cases. With Amy Coney Barrett completing the mighty Supremacon, the decade-long drought in gun rights cases should come to an end. I simply cannot overstate how important new SCOTUS rulings are. The First, Fourth, Fifth, and 14th Amendments have been well worn in over the last couple hundred years. All the sharp edges have been knocked off by court case after court case. But before DC versus Heller affirmed the individual right to bear arms in 2008, there were virtually no impactful Supreme Court rulings on the Second Amendment. Since then, the only 2A case was Chicago versus McDonald, which incorporated the Second Amendment. That is, prior to that case, it could be argued the Second Amendment only restricted federal, not state government. Since Chicago versus McDonald, though, the 2A was applied to the several states. That's great and all, but the most authoritarian states haven't really made any changes, so we need to fight gun bans and carry bans specifically, and SCOTUS hasn't heard a single gun rights case in a decade. Now there is every reason to believe the court should hear some new gun rights cases. One case they might hear is Caldara versus City of Boulder, which is basically a municipal ban on scary black rifles with a cherry on top that makes it illegal to possess a firearm under the age of 21. The court may also look at some of the cases Becky was involved with Rode versus Becerra, which involves out-of-state ammo sales, and Duncan v. Becerra, which relates to Californistan's ban on standard capacity magazines. And the big one, which may also get to SCOTUS first, is Young versus Hawaii, which is challenging Hawaii's ban on open carry. Even the notorious RBG admitted in DC versus Heller the word bear in the Second Amendment means to actually carry a gun, but so far some authoritarian states still continue to act as though it doesn't. As an added bonus, Young versus Hawaii may generate an opinion on whether the 2A guarantees a right to carry concealed. This is the big one, in my opinion, and of course, several other cases are on the way to SCOTUS. I don't think it's unreasonable to expect that more than one case might be heard this year. And while it is certainly possible for a future court to undo any progress made, that's not something they take lightly. It is exceedingly rare for SCOTUS to overturn an earlier SCOTUS ruling. The winner of last week's t-shirt is this comment from DC Willis 87. November 2025. It had been exactly 5 years since they called the damn election. It tore the country to shreds. They announced Joe won. Donald claimed he had proof it was all a sham. Of course, none of that matters now. He took office and immediately started passing royal decrees trying to strip us of our rights. Damn that, I said. There were many like me. We started hoarding weapons. Hell, I even started building homemade submachine guns, Ludi style. Glock mag fed, of course. The war has been going for 4 years now. They say the Don has rallied a lot of troops in the South. None of us thought the Chinese would really aid those damn Joe-coms, as we started to call them. Apparently, they call us the Tattletales because the Don told the world about how Joe cheated the election. Kamala personally showed up to arrest the Don, and when she got there, she said, "Mama don't like no tattletales." That was the spark that started this damn war. Hopefully, it will all be over soon. They say war is hell. I wish it was that easy. Hell would be a cakewalk compared to this. Where will you be when the final shots are fired? I hope you'll be on this side of good and freedom. Of course, there were lots of other really well-written submissions, but I liked this one the best. If you'd like to win your choice of rad shirt from our Teespring store, post a comment containing the phrase, "I'd buy that for $1" in the YouTube comments, and I will arbitrarily and unilaterally choose the best one. Keep it PG, and I might read it in the next episode. Well, friends, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoy watching these things half as much as I enjoy making them. If you want to help us keep bringing you banger content like this, please support the folks who support us. Not only does TNVC.com carry a wide selection of low-carb, fat-free, non-GMO night vision products, they also have mounts, lights, and all sorts of other gear to make you the bump in the night. And if you want to support us more directly, you can get fly shirts like this one in our Teespring store. I love you. Do I look pretty? I think it looks pretty.